Welcome to part 2 about talking about the articles written from lectures given by Infold at Games Developers Conference this year, last month. Last day, so yesterday, I talked about the lecture given by Infinity Nikki's art director, and I think it gives us quite a bit of insight into how they approach designing banners and what comes first, the story or the banner, what comes first, the ability or the banner, and similar things. So if you're interested in that, definitely go and watch that video. Today I am confused because we're gonna be reading a article, a lecture done by Infinity Nikki's level designer, and I'm gonna have archery in my head throughout the whole time when we're reading this, and specifically how much Mirta has traumatized me just last patch. So we're gonna start reading the article right here. When developing version 2.0 of Infinity Nikki, I was like a chef, improving upon a classic dish of maple tofu, which represents our version 1.0. We need to create a sense of freshness to surprise our returning customers while satisfying their tastes and simultaneously try to attract more new diners. The diners wanted brand new flavor, brand new map abilities, a more distinctive tofu, new styles of maps, rich garnishes, more interesting map gameplay. I need to lead my team to cook up this Mapo Tofu 2.0 within a year. So, the number one takeaway that we can have from level designer making a speech so far is that every version, every new X.0 version seems to get a year in development. This means that 2.0 started development directly or close to directly right after 1.0 finished development. Just about there, because we still assume that they need some time for testing the version and not only making the version. But also they're talking about getting player feedback in. So I'm gonna assume that 3.0 will mostly be based on feedback of 2.1 or 2.0, about there, and maybe they're gonna incorporate any later feedback if they can shuffle things around, especially if feedback has significantly changed, because these things seems to be developed way in advance, and it does make sense. Unless, of course, they're working with that structure of they have multiple teams going, and while somebody's doing a 2.0, somebody is doing a 3.0. But I don't think that they're working like that, because I do assume that they want to take in feedback from people before starting to develop the next version. The most important common issue, ability growth and goal establishment, was feedback that they got about in 1.0. The core ability in 1.0 was float, along with regional abilities like glide and shrink. To lower the barrier to entry for players, we gave them the fully realized abilities the moment they acquired them. The benefit of this is that the abilities are relatively easy to pick up, and players can have a good experience right from the start. But the ensuing problem was, throughout the entire game progression, players had no pursuit of developing these abilities. Therefore, we couldn't establish a positive experience loop of exploring the map, establishing goals, improving abilities, exploring better. Compared to version 1.0, we made a rather bold attempt for Infinity Nikki in 2.0. First, just like in version 1.0, we designed the fully realized abilities right from the start. After that, we broke down the fully realized abilities into several modules from an experiential dimension, and then differentiated some experiences from these modules. Thus, we derived the initial abilities and player progression goals. players need to explore the map and collect whim stars to upgrade their abilities in order to achieve a better exploration experience. As someone that has the full level tree upgraded on one of my accounts, and on my streaming account, I have F all because I'm not bothering too much. I'm just there for the story. I say that if this was the goal, then they sort of didn't achieve it very well because, like, you can use Ipsilon's abilities, both the Sticky Claw and the Gigantification, as is. You don't actually need to upgrade them for any content, and most important Gigantification upgrade, for example, is the fact that after you do the full thing, it no longer consumes energy, so you don't need to pick up energy orbs. With Sticky Claw, you can reach further. None of this is so game-changing. I think when people want emergent gameplay, when they want goals, and when they want their abilities to be upgraded, I think what they mean is closer to what was demonstrated in a rather primitive way inside the housing abilities, where abilities sort of merged and it unlocked new things that you can do. So maybe a Gigantification ability could let you open secret passages, let you enter new challenge levels, unlock a puzzle, unlock a quest, let you enter a new piece of map. You know, you want to unlock something substantial. Even if it's just from the rather pretty and just, I don't know, map design point of view. Like, for example, at one point in Final Fantasy XIV, with one of the expansions, there were very tiny houses, and only the Lalafell race could really enter them. People wanted to enter them to take a look inside, even if there was nothing there. So, even if you just unlock like a new nice photo location, by being able to gigantify further and therefore like jump up a mountain or like enter this new place, it doesn't really matter if there isn't like a diamond for you to find. What matters is that you unlocked something special, and now that you're in a place where you normally wouldn't be. The upgrades that we get are kind of, the issue with them is that they're non-essential. So if people wanted to upgrade their abilities, I wouldn't really say that they kind of they did that in the way that's, you know, very enticing, because you can completely, like, you can disregard all the whim stars there, just never upgrade your abilities, and you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. First, we had to cater to the tastes of our largest customer base. So they're taking feedback from people, and that's how they're deciding how to design game going forward. After the launch of version 1.0, we received a massive amount of player feedback and actual game data, which helped us greatly in judging what kind of experience current Infinity Nikki players want. Remember, I'm having archery in my brain. We found that majority of players prefer a simple and exhilarating gameplay experience. Remember Mirta Arena of 2.5? Remember the two bell bosses together? Remember how we now have a lot of different configurations for your archery set, as in people recommend using different archery sets for different reasons and exchanging abilities in order to make these places more passable and easily. Simple and exhilarating gameplay experience, you say. Many players play the game on their mobile phones during fragmented time. In this context, overly complex, slow-paced operations that are unsuited for mobile devices will degrade the experience. Overly complex, fast-paced operations will also degrade mobile players' experience. You telling me that you designed Marriott Arena of 2.5 with mobile players in mind? Are you sure that you stand by the statement? The interesting bit about this whole article from the level designer is that it seems that he had a say in the abilities, or she. Last time I only said he. It could be a she. I'm using he as a neutral pronoun almost, so really I should be saying they. I do not know who this person is. If they had a say in abilities based on player feedback, I'm assuming that they had a say in how purification works, right? Or how much health the enemies have? Or where you place the enemies? I understand that we're only talking about 2.0 and that we're only talking about Sticky Claw and Gigantification, but the hell happened in 2.5? What kind of player feedback are they running off of? Did everybody like get super mad at 2.0 and was like, oh my god, this game is like way too easy. I really want some health sponges, 150 HP, just like glittered absolutely everywhere. And what I'm trying to say is that I'm having archery in mind, and this is kind of why this whole level design thing is like really confusing for me as statements, because it seems that the kind of feedback that they're getting from players is that players are fairly casual playing this on mobile phones. For a bit of a palate cleanser, I do have a fun little highlight, which is normal Nikki is 1.6 meters tall. I don't know if we have ever gotten Nikki's height before, but now you know. She also drowns in depth that is higher than 1 meter. The more you know. They're trying to explain that the original idea for gigantification was more complex than what we landed. The gameplay roughly revolved around shrink and stealth, then gigantify and roar to attract the beast, shrink and stealth again, approach the beast, gigantify and roar to stun it, and finally use the beast as platform to reach higher places for rewards. But in subsequent development and testing, we found that the low margin of error and overwhelming sense of oppression and crisis-ridden experience brought by this gameplay ran completely counter to the relaxing and healing vibe of our diners, players, were seeking. I'm glad that we didn't have such a convoluted loop for dealing with behemoths. So let me start with that. Playtesters, you did a good job, but if you know that your playtester vibe is relaxed and casual, what happened in 2.5? I'm gonna like repeat this question over and over again because this whole article that came out during 2.5 feels like it's running almost counter to decisions made in 2.5. Which is why... Huh? Now we're gonna approach Sticky Claw. In a primitive version of the Sticky Claw, the player needed to activate the crosshair, aim at the sticky ember in the scene, and shoot the Sticky Claw. The fun of gameplay lay in aiming and finding the right timing to shoot. This experience was fine on a PC, but when it came to mobile, if you ever played shooter games on a mobile device, you can probably imagine how disastrous it was. And then they decided to implement archery as a purification ability, and they're not really talking about that. And archery, famously, has aim and shoot mechanics, unlike our nice big purification orb that you just kind of launched in a general direction and it hit the enemy. I'm finding it very interesting that they're not talking about the purification part of the whole 2.0 saga when that is the biggest thing that they redesigned. And considering that they had to redesign other abilities before they hit launch in order to be more mobile phone friendly, and the reason why they weren't mobile phone friendly is because you needed to aim and shoot, you can see why the design decisions are so really confusing for me when it comes to the lecture that the level designer gave just last month. In game development, what's more difficult is making brave decisions under unknown circumstances and firmly pushing them forward. I will say, whoever has decided to design the combat the way that it is designed in 2.5 did have quite a lot of bravery. Proverbial balls on them, even, if I must say. But it's just surely your playtesters should have caught that maybe the place where you took the combat is not entirely reasonable if you're looking for a casual, relaxing game. Now you see why the article written by the level designer is a bit perplexing to me. The only way this makes sense is if the decision for purification abilities is made outside of the level design context, while the regular abilities that you use inside the environment is made inside the level design context. That is the only way I can make sense of this. So if art director talking has left me with some questions, this article I cannot understand, because it seems like the decisions made are a bit not matchy-matchy with the feedback gotten and with the way that they had to address abilities. Ability design, like Sticky Claw design and Gigantification design. If it's just me, please tell me so in the comment section down below. Other than that, reading this has been a very perplexing experience. Thank you, Infold, for releasing this lecture and talking about your level design, but when it comes to fighting enemies with the archery ability, it brings up quite a lot of questions about level design for me. So those are my thoughts, and I only arrived them because I kept archery in my head throughout reading this whole article. Maybe I wasn't meant to. So read the article in full yourself. It's available in the description down below. Thank you for listening to me talk about the excerpts that had proven interesting to me when it comes to how Infold addresses and approaches level design. What do you think? Do you think some other department is working on combat mechanics or what? Or do you think that there is a reason why they left out talking about combat mechanics in here? Anyway, thank you for watching. I'm trying not to be mean. These people working for a company, they don't deserve our ire. It's just, I'm just saying, I'm slightly confused. Anyways, thank you so much for my Patreon supporters. And I hope I'm gonna see you in my other videos. where we're moving away from talking about Infold's lectures, because I talked about the 2 of them that are publicly available online. So yeah, thank you for watching again, and toodaloo.